Morning, everybody. So, I was thinking about this thing that recruitment said, and I agree with him. But everything changes with time. Let me see this done. Right, should be right. And what I think that what people say about unreasonable behavior for the sake of innovation. Unreasonable, yeah. Behavior. I think the whole idea of logic, the idea of chaos, that the chaos stimulates unreasonable behavior. And if you think about our brain, left, right hemisphere, well, the right hemisphere, that is designed to be used for art and for, for the, not want to say abstract thinking, but more of a unreasonable thinking that probably creates a lot of new innovation when you see kind of a holistic approach. So the logical part tries to break things down to smaller pieces and create pattern. The chaotic part of the brain tries to put it all together, kind of like bring the big piece. And then you have, left, right hemisphere, corpus and colossus communicating between different hemispheres. Now with the AI models, if you think about it, what AI models do, they're statistical machines. They trying to give the best answer based upon the training. And if you train on the idea that create like a bigger model, and then you can create a smaller model, create a bigger model that's designed to constantly add up things, but then you create a smaller model that then breaks things in small patterns. You actually can define that as ASI type model, because what it does, it's constantly tries to create patterns, but then you also add viewpoints and other things. But the fundamental premise for the ASI would be that, I believe. Don't tell me I defined the ASI, but anyway, I'm kind of feeling happy right now. Ooh, la la. Progress. How do we use unreasonable part of the brain, unreasonable behavior for the progress? First of all, we have to define progress as an improvement across different axes for different kind of products. Rick mentioned about Lehman Brothers. Was it Lehman Brothers? Well, the brothers who invented flight. Anyways, my memory sucked sometimes. Lehman Brothers. Anyways, what the fuck? What we have is an abstract thought process in case of innovation of freedom, liberty. Liberty. You build a model on that. Sorry, liberty, safety, and happiness. When you can integrate that into evolution, which also I was kind of playing with the idea of super alignment for Cyberdeus, and this kind of resonates. Why is it 2 hours of sleep can give you some ideas? Anyways, that can be a good premise for ASI. So the thing is, defining ASI was a big challenge. It's defining sentience, but I think that kind of answers. Now, let's define evolution with regards to creating structures in the world, with regards to innovating new inventions. Yes, we as humans haven't defined the fundamental premise on what's the limit, and maybe it's the human parts of the brain, the human brain, that will continue innovating with regards to new inventions. But I think for some period of time, the revolutionary parts, the stuff that we combine, would be based upon human brain, not the AI, for a period of time. And I think the artists that are cross-disciplinary, engineers, or like, as mentioned, artists with scientific background that can combine an artistic skill set that can be used for creating new innovation would be of value. And once we identify the progress as a fundamental model that I call Y value X for the Cyberdeus, which looks at periodic table and then aligns the elemental base for the maximum value towards the customers at the holistic point of view. We have kind of like a roadmap across different elements transforming themselves into the final product, understanding the energy basis, where the energy came from, and the molecular transformation, and as liquid rock molecules transform into the product that is used and then recycled. The idea that this part of innovation, from perspective of product, I don't want to talk about services because I think services would be more complex, because services would require dopamine, kind of like, I like to call it dopamine chains, that then would be used for extracting the data. Sorry, I'm not wearing my microphone, so there's a lot of noise around. Those individuals could rate innovation based upon the models that are designed to transform the raw materials into the next generation products. So if we think about evolution, like a phone generation or a laptop generation to the next version that outperforms the previous generation. But if you think about a revolutionary device, which applies different set of principles to deliver value. Do you see all? Yeah, you see all. Then this part, the chaos and order, will be very important for the ASI time framework that uses unreasonable frameworks. So combining things which hasn't been combined before, which artists use, like artists try to bring things from different disciplines into a singular product that then creates a condition where things which hasn't been combined before in a simulation, you can say, because you can place an ASI in a simulation, can create a revolutionary type of device that performs or that leapfrogs across different metrics inside the product usability spectrum. Or like an iPhone, for example, which, when Steve Jobs came on stage and said, it's a phone, it's an iPod, and internet browsing device, as far as I remember. Essentially what it did is basically, you can say, a product category integrates into a framework that becomes like a, combined computer and phone. Yeah, suddenly you can, computer and phone. Now it's a bit more complex, but let's imagine combining, what I can say. A pen in the phone, since I'm holding a pen, and apply the old school principles for working with abstract to make sure I put myself in a simulation to work with, and then use paper and pen to draw up things. Anyway, my blah blah brain brainstorming with myself. to use unreasonable thinking, you apply the principles. Say, you tell the system to combine things which hasn't been combined before, but to obtain same performances, if not more. Combining a phone and a pen, for example, in this case, and then saying, okay, combine those two items and get as much usability from them that you would get from, for example, phone and a pen separately. And that way you combine this unreasonable thinking, because who the fuck would do that? But suddenly the AI system said, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll do that. And then did. And then unreasonable use case done. So applying the fundamental brain use case of how the brain is structured, chaos order, bigger picture, breaking things into logic, then jumping into the unreasonable framework where you say combine things which hasn't been combined before in a simulation in order to obtain the usability of items that then links to supply chain transformation, and then applying the dopamine chains to see, or dopamine loops, whatever you like to call them. But the principle is you just measure the excretion of dopamine relative to different things around your environment, and there's a way to do that. And shout out to Cyberdeus for talking about the thing which hasn't been done before, you theoretical motherfucker. I'm joking. I already know how to do that shit. Need money to patent it. Fuckers, it costs so much to patent. Anyway. And then super alignment, I guess the idea of super alignment in this case is to make sure that we do it right, that it doesn't break apart the fundamental principles of liberty, safety, happiness, and make sure that you get evolution across the board from products to people to the environment, making sure the environment support more life. Yeah, if you think about the environment, and if you think about safety, well, let's go to evolution first. Environment, people, so they're less destructible. Yeah. And if you think about products that they perform across different disciplines, and you combine them, and here you go. That's how you solve the shit. Thank you for listening to this. I hope you learned something. Write to me if you want to talk to me at Cyberdeus, Cyber together as one word, Deus, on Telegram. And I would love to always expand ideas and bounce the ball, see what's up. Cheers.